Lily Hart walked slowly down the bright street, carrying a basket of groceries. The sun was warm, but inside she felt cold. On both sides of the road stood shiny houses with big windows and white fences. Her own small home sat quietly at the very end, its paint faded and its garden half wild. While others drove polished cars, she walked with shoes that had seen better days. Yet she tried to smile, because that was her way of holding herself together. Her husband, Ethan, was still at work. He was a good man, though tired most days. He worked at the repair shop during the day and drove deliveries at night. They barely had enough to pay rent and bills, but they shared laughter when they could. Their little world felt safe until the day that letter came. It arrived on a Thursday afternoon while Lily was mending an old dress. She opened the mailbox and found a gold envelope that looked far too fancy to belong to her. Her name was written in graceful handwriting. Inside was an invitation to Ava's summer party. Ava used to be her friend from college. Back then, they spent long nights talking about dreams, love, and what they wanted from life. But time had drawn a line between them. Ava had married a wealthy man and now lived in one of those big houses that people looked at with envy. Lily had married Ethan and chosen love over luxury. They had not spoken in years. The invitation was written like a promise, talked about laughter, dancing, and fine wine. Lily's heart lifted for a moment. Maybe Ava still thought of her as a friend. Maybe this party was a way to reconnect. When Ethan came home that evening, she showed him the envelope. He looked at it in silence. "Will you go?" he asked carefully. "I think I will," Lily said. "It might be nice to see old friends." He nodded, though his eyes seemed distracted. For a second, she wondered if he was worried about the cost of a new dress or simply tired. The next few days she worked hard on making something presentable to wear. She cut an old piece of fabric, pale blue with small flowers, and spent hours sewing it into a neat dress. It was not grand, but it showed care, and she stood before the mirror. She thought that maybe she looked a bit like the girl she used to be. When the evening of the party arrived, she took a deep breath and walked the few blocks to Ava's mansion. Music drifted from the open doors, and cars lined the driveway. She could already see men in suits and women in dresses that sparkled under the lights. She kept walking, telling herself she belonged here, at least for one night. Ava greeted her at the entrance with a bright smile. For a moment, Lily believed that warmth was real. But then she saw the quick glance Ava gave her dress, and something in Lily's stomach turned heavy. "Oh, Lily, you came," Ava said sweetly. "How lovely of you." Inside, the rooms glittered with gold decorations and expensive perfume. Groups of people laughed near the grand piano, holding glasses of champagne. When Lily stepped forward, the laughter dimmed for a brief second before continuing, louder than before. She smiled politely, pretending not to notice the way some eyes slid over her dress and shoes. She moved to a quiet corner near the garden doors and watched as people danced and took pictures. The air smelled of roses and wine. She stood alone, wishing Ethan were there to give her hand a reassuring squeeze. After some time, a small group of Ava's friends came near her. One of them, a tall woman in silver heels, whispered just loud enough for Lily to hear, "Who invited the charity case?" They laughed, pretending it was a joke. Lily's chest tightened. She wanted to leave immediately, but something in her heart told her to stay, just to show she was not ashamed. She lifted her glass of water and gave a soft smile, though her hands trembled. Later, when Ava announced dinner, Lily found that her seat had been removed. Someone had decided she should sit in the back garden where the help rested. That was the final push. Quietly, she placed her napkin on the table and walked out. She stepped into the night, where the cool air wrapped around her like a blanket. The stars above shone quietly, as if they were the only ones still kind to her. With each step home, her heart ached less with anger and more with resolve. She had been laughed at, but she would not carry their shame. Back at the little house, she sat on the porch and took off her shoes. The silence of the night was gentle. When Ethan returned and saw her sitting there in the pale blue dress, he could tell something had gone wrong. He walked to her without a word and sat beside her. She rested her head on his shoulder, and they stared at the stars together. He did not ask what had happened, not yet. For now, the quiet said enough. Ethan sat beside Lily on the porch until the moon climbed high above the trees. The night was quiet, except for the sound of crickets in the grass. Her dress still shimmered faintly in the dim light, though her face looked tired. She kept her eyes on the sky. He could tell she had cried, but she did not speak. He wanted to ask who had hurt her, but the words felt heavy on his tongue. When she finally sighed, he reached for her hand. "I guess rich parties are not made for people like me," she said at last. Her voice was calm but full of pain. Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "You should not care what they think," he said. "They do not know real worth." She smiled weakly. "It just hurts that some of them used to be my friends." He nodded. "Friends should make you feel warm, not small." They sat quietly for a while, letting the night wash away the noise from the party. When the porch light flickered, Lily stood and went inside to make some tea. Ethan followed a few minutes later, turning on the old radio that hissed before finding a soft tune. For a brief moment, things felt almost normal again. Then Lily's phone buzzed on the counter. She wiped her hands and picked it up, expecting it to be a message from one of the few kind neighbors she had. But when she read the screen, her hand froze. The message was short and strange. It said, "Ask your husband why he was at Ava's party an hour before it started." Lily stood very still. The cup in her other hand trembled. The message had no name, no picture, just a plain gray bubble on the screen. Ethan noticed the change in her face and asked what was wrong. She held out the phone wordlessly. He took it and read the message. His eyes widened for a quick second before he forced a half-smile. "That must be a prank," he said softly, but his voice did not sound sure. "A prank from who?" Lily asked. Her heart began to pound. "I do not know," he replied. "Someone trying to upset you, maybe." Lily looked at him with careful eyes. "Were you there, Ethan?" He shook his head. "No, I was at work until 6, then I came straight home." But she remembered seeing his car parked 2 streets over when she walked to the party. She had thought it was just someone else with a similar model. Now her stomach turned uneasy. "Why would someone say that then?" she whispered. He shrugged, but his hand holding the phone grew tight. "People make trouble for fun. Do not take it seriously." She nodded, though her mind kept replaying the message. The words felt heavy, too specific to be random. They finished their tea in silence. After a while, Lily excused herself and went to their small bedroom. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone. Her fingers hovered over the reply box, but she did not know what to say. Finally, she turned the phone face down and lay back, but sleep refused to come. In the other room, Ethan paced near the window. He pulled his own phone from his pocket and scrolled quickly, his face pale in the dim light. A message appeared on his screen too, arriving just as quietly as Lily's had before. It read, "You thought it was over, but it is not. She will know everything soon." Ethan felt a drop of cold sweat slide down his neck. He looked through the window toward the dark street. No one was there, yet he felt watched. He deleted the message instantly but could not shake the fear that someone was out there waiting. The next morning, Lily moved about the kitchen as usual, but her eyes still carried questions. Ethan acted calm, making jokes and talking about the weather. But every time her phone buzzed, he flinched. When she finally asked again if he had gone to Ava's house before the party, he avoided her gaze. "I told you I wasn't there," he said firmly. She studied his face for a long moment, then nodded slowly, though doubt sat heavy in her chest. That afternoon, while hanging clothes outside, Lily noticed a black car parked across the street. It was not one from her neighborhood. Inside, she could just make out the outline of someone waiting. When she looked directly at it, the car drove away. Her heart began to race. Later, when Ethan came home, she mentioned it. He dismissed it quickly, saying maybe it belonged to a delivery man lost on the wrong street. But behind his calm words, his eyes had a shadow that worried her. Before going to bed, she checked her phone again. Another message had arrived while she was out back. It said, "He is lying. Ask him about the envelope." Lily read the sentence again and again. An envelope. It made no sense to her, but it made her uneasy. She wanted to run to Ethan and demand the truth, yet something told her to wait. He had been distant lately, more secretive than usual. Now, she wondered what kind of secret he could be hiding that made strangers send strange messages. When Ethan entered the room and saw her holding the phone, he froze for a second. She quickly set it down and acted like nothing was wrong. Odd. They went to bed without another word, each pretending to sleep. But both of them lay awake in silence, the air between them thick with fear and questions neither dared to voice. The next morning came quietly, but nothing felt normal in the Hart home. The sunrise painted gold light through the windows, yet the warmth did not touch their hearts. Lily made breakfast without speaking much. Ethan tried to act calm, but his hands shook when he poured his coffee. Every sound in the room felt sharper than usual. The clink of the spoon in the cup, the creak of the chair, the rustle of a page turned by nervous fingers. Lily could not stop thinking about the strange messages. Her mind tried to find logic, but each thought only brought more questions. Who sent them, and how did they know about the party? What was this about an envelope? She looked at Ethan, who avoided her eyes, pretending to read the newspaper. Finally, she said his name softly. He looked up ready with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Ethan, we cannot just pretend everything is fine, she said. Those messages mean something. Please tell me if there is something I should know. He set the paper down and rubbed his forehead. There is nothing, Lily. I told you. Someone is trying to cause trouble. Her voice stayed calm but strong. Then why did they say you were at Ava's party before it began? And why did they mention an envelope? Ethan's jaw tightened. He looked away from her out the window at the street beyond. The silence that followed was long and heavy. Finally, he said quietly, I used to work with Ava a few years ago, before she married. I helped her with some business things. It was a mistake. Lily waited. What kind of mistake? She loaned me money once, when the shop was failing, he said. I needed it badly then, and she offered without asking much in return. But later she started asking for favors, for keeping things quiet. I tried to stop talking to her after that. Lily's heart pounded. So you went to her before the party? Ethan nodded slightly. She asked to meet about that old deal. She said she wanted to close it for good. Give me something and make sure we were even. She gave me an envelope with some papers I needed to sign. I did not want you to worry, so I did not tell you. Lily felt a mix of anger and fear. You hid this from me, Ethan? And now someone else knows about it? That is not a small thing. I thought it was over, he said softly. I thought we could finally leave it behind. Neither of them finished breakfast that morning. The air between them grew tense. After Ethan left for work, Lily sat staring at her phone again. She decided that if he would not tell her the full truth, she would find it herself. She began by looking into the number that had sent her the messages. It was hidden with no name or address. Or still, she remembered small clues, like how the texts always came around the same time of night, just after 10. It meant someone close by was watching. Later that day, she went to the local store to pick up a few things. As she was leaving, she noticed the same black car she had seen earlier that week. It was parked across the road again, engine silent. This time she walked past it slowly, pretending not to notice. She glanced sideways only once and saw a shadow behind the glass. The person inside lifted a phone as if to take a picture. When she reached home, her nerves were frayed. She locked the door and closed the curtains. The phone buzzed again. She almost dropped it when she saw the message. The words read, "Stop looking. He cannot protect you if you keep digging." Lily's breath came fast. Why someone wanted her afraid, but a spark of courage replaced her fear. She saved the message and sat down at the small desk by the window. She started writing down every detail she could remember about Ava, the party, the envelope, and the car. When Ethan returned home that evening, he looked worse than before. His shirt was wrinkled, and his eyes darted left and right, as if expecting danger. Lily asked how his day went, and he said only that someone had been waiting outside the shop asking questions. She told him about the car and the new message. Ethan's face turned pale. He dropped his bag and sat heavily on the couch. I think they are watching us, he said in a low voice. Ava was not as clean as she looked. She was involved with people who wanted things hidden. That money I took pulled me into it without knowing. If they think you have the envelope, they will come after you. Lily felt a wave of dread, but underneath it, a steady feeling grew. Then we have to find out the truth, she said. I am not going to let fear rule us. Ethan looked at her with tired eyes. It may be too late, he whispered. That night they slept little. The sounds of the street kept them awake. Each car passing by made them tense. Lily kept thinking of Ava's perfect smile and wondering how many lies had been hiding behind it. She realized that the laughter at the party had only been the surface of something much darker. Now she and Ethan were standing at the edge of that darkness, and it was beginning to move closer. Lily woke up early the next morning, with her heart still heavy. The sun pressed weak light through the curtains, but the house felt colder than ever. Ethan was already gone. A note on the table said he had gone to the repair shop and would be home early. His handwriting was shaky, and that made her worry more. She sat at the table and looked at the empty cup in front of her. The warning message from the night before echoed in her mind. Stop looking. He cannot protect you. She could not stay calm any longer. She felt trapped in her own home, unsure who was watching or what they wanted. Her hands trembled as she opened her old laptop. If Ethan would not tell her everything, she would dig into it herself. She remembered that Ava always posted her events and pictures online. Maybe there was something there. Lily searched for the photos from the party. There were dozens. Then something in one photo made her pause. Behind Ava and her guests stood Ethan near the back lawn. He was half-turned, wearing the same work jacket he always wore. He was not smiling. His face looked tense, like someone hiding a secret. Lily's throat went dry, so the message had been right. He had been there before the party. She scrolled through more pictures and found another one showing Ava holding a golden envelope. The same kind of envelope Ethan said she gave him. In the same photo, another man stood beside her, looking into the camera with cold eyes. His face was hard to forget. That same afternoon, Lily decided to go to the mansion again. She felt if she could find Ava, she could get answers. When she reached the large gate, the house looked empty. The driveway was clear, and the garden lights were off, even though it was still early evening. She called Ava's name softly near the door, but no one answered. She noticed a small package on the doorstep with Ava's name on it. Without thinking, Lily looked inside. It contained documents stamped with legal signs, property papers, and one sheet with Ethan's signature. A car turned into the drive just then. A woman's voice shouted her name angrily. Startled, Lily stepped back. It was Ava, wearing dark glasses and moving quickly. "What are you doing here, Lily?" Ava demanded. "That is private property." Lily's voice was calm but firm. "I came to ask why people are sending me strange messages. They talk about Ethan and you in an envelope. I want to know the truth." Ava's smile trembled for a second before she forced it back. "You should stop asking things that do not concern you. You do not understand how dangerous those games are. I just want honesty," Lily said. "You were once my friend." Ava's eyes softened briefly. "I never wanted you involved. Ethan made a deal that put you both in danger. The money he took was marked. It belonged to someone who does not forgive." Lily felt her knees weaken. "So this is about that loan?" Ava nodded. "I thought paying him to sign the papers would settle it, but someone leaked everything from that night. Now all of us are being watched. If you stay quiet, maybe you will be safe." Lily stepped back from her. "Safe because of lies? I cannot live that way." Before Ava could answer, a loud noise came from the street. A black car stopped by the gate. Two men got out, looking around slowly. Ava's face turned pale. "Go home, Lily," she whispered urgently. "Pretend you know nothing." But Lily did not move. The men walked closer, their eyes cold and sharp. Laka turned and hurried inside, locking the door behind her. Lily took one step back, then another, and ran all the way home, her breath short and heart wild. When she burst through the door, Ethan was waiting. His face went white when he saw her. "Where were you?" he demanded. "At Ava's house," she said, catching her breath. "I saw the papers." "I know now that you lied." Ethan rubbed his face with both hands. "I tried to protect you. She is right. They are dangerous people. Money was not hers, and now they think I still have something that belongs to them." Lily stared at him in disbelief. "Then what did the envelope contain?" "Proof," he admitted. "Proof that could destroy them if it reaches the police. I was supposed to give it back, but I kept it hidden to keep us safe. I thought if I held on to it, they would not harm us." Fear clenched her chest. "You hid it here?" He nodded slowly. "In the basement." But now they must know. A sound came from outside. A car door slammed. Quick footsteps moved near their porch. She no longer trusted his promises, but she knew they could not run. The noise outside grew louder and closer. Lily's heart pounded as she clung to Ethan's arm. He stood still, listening carefully. The shadows of two men passed across the front window. One of them knocked hard on the door. The sound echoed through the small house like a warning. Ethan looked at his wife. "Do not open the door," he whispered, "no matter what happens." He took a deep breath and moved toward the basement door. Lily followed him. Her feet trembled on the old wooden floor. He opened the basement and went down quickly. Lily stayed near the top of the stairs, listening to the knocks that came again, louder this time. Then a voice called, calm and cold, "Mr. Hart, we know you are home. We only want what belongs to us." Lily whispered into the darkness, "What do they want, Ethan?" Came up the steps, holding a metal box. "This," he said. His face looked pale, but steady. "This is the envelope. I kept it hidden here." Then the front door rattled as the men began to force it open. The lock clicked under pressure. Ethan looked around for something to block it, but there was nothing strong enough. Lily stared at the box, then at him. "Hey, give it to them," she said quickly. "We're not part of this anymore." He shook his head. "They get this, we lose everything. This has proof of their crimes." The door burst open at that moment. Two men stepped inside, both wearing dark coats. One of them spoke firmly. "We do not want trouble. Hand over the papers." Ethan stood straight and said, "You will not get them. You will leave us alone." The taller man moved closer. "That is not your choice," he said, and took a step forward. Lily felt fear rise like ice in her chest. Without thinking, she picked up a heavy lamp and held it beside her. Before things turned violent, a loud siren screamed outside. Blue and red lights flashed through the window. The men froze. One looked toward the street and cursed under his breath. They turned and ran out through the back door before the police reached the porch. Lily dropped the lamp and sank to the floor, shaking. Ethan went to her and wrapped his arms around her. "It is over," he said, though he did not believe it fully. Moments later, two officers stepped inside. One of them recognized Ethan from the repair shop. He questioned them both carefully.
Ow.
Lily told them about the messages, the money, the black car, and the break-in. Ethan finally admitted the truth about Ava and the loan. He also handed the metal box to the officer. Inside were papers with names, numbers, and records of illegal deals linked to Ava and her group. The officer nodded grimly. "You both were in real danger. These documents are enough to open an investigation. You did the right thing bringing them to us." That night was long and filled with questions, statements, and tired faces. By morning, the police told them they would be safe for now. Ava had been taken for questioning. The men in the black car were still being hunted. Lily and Ethan returned home as the sun rose again. Their house looked the same, but nothing felt the same anymore. For days afterward, silence hung in every corner. Ethan helped fix the broken door, while Lily cleaned the rooms. Every ring of the phone made them tense. Slowly, the street returned to its usual calm, though trust took longer to return inside their hearts. A week later, a letter came from the police. The case was breaking wide open. Ava's name appeared in the local news. Her parties, her wealth, her perfect image were all part of a web of lies and hidden business. The townspeople whispered about her downfall. Lily read the article aloud to Ethan. "It says you helped the police find the files that proved the fraud," she said softly. He nodded silently. "I never wanted this to happen," he said. "I only wanted to make life better for us. Made bad choices, and I am sorry." Lily looked at him for a long time. "We cannot change what happened," she said, "but we can decide who we will be now." They sold the small house a month later and moved to a quieter town 2 hours away. There they rented a tiny apartment near the river. It was not much, but it was peaceful. Ethan found work at a local garage, and Lily began sewing again for the town shop. They walked together in the evenings, listening to the water flow and the wind rustle the trees. Life became gentle again, free from glitter and lies. They no longer felt the need to prove anything to anyone. The pain they had faced had turned them stronger. Lily sometimes remembered Ava's laughter and the cruel eyes of the guests at that party. Yet now she smiled at the thought, because none of them had what she did. She had truth, peace, and the kind of love that stayed when everything else broke apart. Ethan still carried guilt, but she forgave him fully. Each morning when they woke up, he promised never to hide anything again. She believed him, not because of words, but because of the way his eyes softened when he looked at her. Their new home was quiet, and their nights were calm. The noise, lies, and fear of the past faded like an old memory. The woman who was once excluded for being poor now lived rich in spirit. And the man who once let fear rule his choices finally learned what it meant to be brave. They had lost almost everything once, but now they truly had each other.